Most people don't think you're going to succeed. When it comes to mastering a new skill, starting a new side hustle, achieving really any other goal you have, even the experts secretly believe you're going to fail. And the reason why is because they don't think you have time to actually study or read or learn or practice. They don't think you're going to stick with it. They don't think you'll have any consistency. They think you're going to have shiny object syndrome where you're just jumping from thing to thing. They think that when you fail early, you're going to get frustrated and give up. And what sucks is most of the time, they're not wrong. They actually, there's even research on this. And basically what we see is that 92% of people who set out to achieve a goal fail to achieve it. And that leaves 8% of people who succeed. So what makes the 8% different from the rest? Well, in my experience as somebody who's been pretty successful at the age of 35, I've sold almost $1 billion worth of stuff and started numerous 7, 8, and 9-figure companies, including several right now, and also have a great family and whatever. By most metrics, I'm pretty successful. So this is my somewhat qualified opinion of that, right? One big thing is that 8% of the 8% that succeed, first of all, they set realistic goals and then work backwards to see how they can achieve them, right? So they don't just say, I want to make $100,000 this year. They think about how making $100,000 in a year means making $8,333.33 per month. And then maybe they even break it down even more. They say, well, there's 30 days in the month. And so that means they have to make an average of $277 per day. And then they start looking at ways that they can make that happen, right? It's not just like, if you just know the number, great, but how do you make it happen, right? If you're in a job, well, you need to either get a raise, get a new job, or start a side hustle. And then if you're a freelancer or somebody with a side hustle right now, they need to figure out, okay, like how many clients do I need to get at what rate to reach my goal, right? Thinking about that, do I want to do one-off projects? If I could get 3 people to pay me $3,000 per month each, then that would get me to past $8,333.33. I would reach my goal. Is that realistic? I don't know. Do I need to get 10 people to pay me $1,000 each in a month? And then what am I doing? Can I trade my time for money in that way? Or would it take me too many hours for each $1,000 task? And if it would, then need to figure out, okay, how do I charge more, or how do I change what I'm doing or what I'm offering as a freelancer? Hope that makes sense. Even the conversation of, okay, I want to get people on retainer or I want to do one-off projects. These are all things you have to think about, right? And then figuring out how to do marketing and outreach and what strategies will bring you those clients. So posting regular content, being involved in different groups. Like I love going into Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups and sharing content about, hey, here's some things I've done that have helped clients. Here's some tips, things of that nature, by being visible. Cold prospecting and outreach. I mean, all of that stuff helps. So you've got to figure out, like, from the goal of $100,000 in a year or $1 million or whatever it is, you have to work backwards. Like my income goal is generally making $1 million a month in income, which is $6,250 an hour, essentially, assuming that I'm going to work 40 hours a week. So it might seem like, crazy, unrelatable amounts of money to you. But the point is I've taken it from $1 million a month and broken it down to an hourly amount. And then any activity that I'm doing, I'm hoping will generally generate at least a $6,250 an hour return. But you have to think that way. And then you've got to actually, once you have your goals, you have to actually take action and do them, because that's number 2, right? The 8% that succeed love taking massive action. There's a cliche about missing 100% of the shots you don't take, but it's true. And that's another reason that experts and people don't think you're going to succeed, is because they don't think that you're a doer. They think that you're a dreamer. They think you're someone who feels accomplished after dreaming of some master plan, somebody who loves to talk and tell people about their plan, somebody who, in the movie, you watch the movie where the character is dying and they're like, oh, we're going to go to the beach one day. And they're like, yeah, we're going to go, but they're not. They're dying and they never actually achieved their dream. That's who they think you are. And they think you're going to talk about your plan ad nauseum and continue to tweak it and be a perfectionist, and you're never going to put your plan into action. And that's because most people are afraid to take action because they're afraid that if they do, they're going to fail. And that brings us to number 3, which is that those who reach their goals, that 8%, aren't afraid of failure. They realize that every failure gets you closer to success. And what's funny is that even in AI and machine learning, I was just reading about this, scientists have found that in order for machines and computers to learn at an optimal level, then they have to fail 15% of the time. That's how they get better. It's called iteration, an iterative process, right? Computers need to fail 15% of the time, but so do entrepreneurs and freelancers and anyone who's setting a goal. Maybe it's even higher for entrepreneurs. I think it certainly is, actually. But the way I look at this is it's only failure if you give up. And if you don't give up, all that failure is a feedback mechanism. It's a way to see when an idea isn't working and then to tweak it and optimize it or replace it with a new idea. So stop thinking of failure as failure. Think of it as feedback. That's what failure is. Failure is feedback. And every single one of the most successful people on the planet has failed more times than you can imagine. They almost certainly fail more often than those who aren't successful because they actually try. They take action, they're doers, and then they don't mind failing. They're failing every day, but they recognize failure as a valuable asset and a tool, while the 92% of people who don't achieve their goals think of failure as some shameful thing, something that proves they secretly weren't good enough all along, that validates all their negative self-talk. Ooh, I knew I wasn't good enough because I failed, right? And that is bullshit. Failure is a beautiful thing. It's awesome. Failing is awesome. So you have to have that mindset if you want to be in the 8% of people who are going to succeed. And that takes us to the 8% and number 4 for the 8%, which is that those who succeed don't give up. Now that seems really cliche or really obvious, right? Like a platitude, hang in there, right, with the poster on your wall. But it's actually your competitive advantage, and I'm going to explain why. The 8% that succeed are persistent and resilient. If they're trying to get new clients, they keep prospecting and reaching out because they realize that it doesn't matter if you hear 100 no's in a row as long as you eventually hear a yes. I own a call center with over 100 agents in it, and I've listened on the floor, and I've seen the difference between the people who succeed and the people who don't, and I've realized that it's messed up as it is, like it really is a numbers game. People say that about sales. It's entirely true. The ones who succeed are the ones who just make the most phone calls and hear the most no's. And maybe you don't want to work in a call center, totally get it, cool, but it's the same principle for everything, right? Like you have to go through all the no's to get to the yes. Almost everything and anything that's worth doing is going to be hard, especially at first. And if it were easy, everyone would do it, right? But hardness can be your friend and your ally. Hardness is your defensive moat. It's embracing hard things and persevering is what gives you a massive competitive edge over the 92% of people who are going to give up, right? They're going to run away from the hard. But the harder something is, the fewer people will attempt it. So there's actually a paradox here, which is that the harder something is, the less competition you have. Does that make sense? The harder it is, the fewer people are going after it, the probability of you succeeding actually increases. There's a crazy paradox that happens. And that brings us to number 5, which is that the 8% of people who succeed in reaching their goals have a why. Because in order to do hard things, you need to have a real why behind what you're doing, right? It's a bigger, deeper purpose, a mission, a reason for why they get out of bed every morning and go after these goals in the first place. Making lots of money is a super shitty why. Making sure my child or children want for nothing and have every opportunity to achieve their passions and dreams is a better one. You know, your why might be tied to making the world a better place. It might be tied to creativity and expression, to freedom is a huge one for entrepreneurs and freelancers. It might be tied to your family. It might be tied to some personal philosophy. But if you really want to succeed at your goal, you need to have a why. A why brings you purpose and it exemplifies your passion. And when you combine passion and purpose, profit tends to follow. You just want to make sure with your why that you get specific. You know, making the world a better place is vague. Help to feed 1,000 hungry families in the next year is a whole lot better and more specific. So those are the 5 big ones, right? And as you go into the new year, I want you to ask yourself, right, do you want to be one of the 92% of people who fail to achieve their goals? Because statistically, you're likely to be that person. You're likely to fail. And experts think that too. I'm someone who, as a marketer, as somebody who talks to other high-level marketers who are selling programs and courses and coaching, you know, basically their whole thing is that the more they want to qualify their prospects, and you're a prospect to them, right? They want to qualify you so that they're only getting people who have a higher probability of succeeding. But the reason why is because they know that the broader they go and the more kind of cold people they reach out to, people who don't know them and they don't know them, but who are just out there in existence, like doing their day-to-day life, that those people who are really not targeted are the people who are going to fail. So they try to segment and separate to just go after like the people who will probably succeed, which makes sense as a marketer. But I think about this and I'm like, damn, the other 90%, it pisses me off. I think everyone can succeed. I think you can prove them wrong. I think everyone can prove them wrong. I think you can be one of the 8% and we can make that 8% into 10%, 15%. But you have to follow these things. You have to have, you have to plan and set goals and then really break down those goals, work backwards from them, right? You have to actually take action and be a doer. You have to look at failure as feedback and celebrate your failure. You have to persevere and not give up and embrace the hard things. And then finally, you have to do, have a why. Because if you don't have a why, then you're not gonna, it's hard to stick with something if you don't have a reason for it, right? A why makes everything better. So hopefully we can prove them wrong. Hopefully you can prove them wrong. And hopefully you can prove me right and make 2021 the best year of your life. Hope you watched this, or if you're at this part, you watched this video, but I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got value from it. I hope it motivated you. If it did, please put a comment letting me know. Leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Hit the like button. All these little things, 3 seconds to be a doer. By being a doer, taking action, it helps me to get this message to more people and to hopefully motivate them so that more people will win in 2021. So thank you, and have a great new year and an awesome start to 2021.